A protest was held outside the State Department of Land and Natural Resources building on Kilauea and Kauai in Hilo on Wednesday. About 20 to 30 hunters and other recreation users of Mauna Kea demonstrated against the state's policy of eradicating sheep on the mountain. Philip Heilson, who maintains the website MaunaKeaMassacre.com, says the DLNR's helicopter hunts are inhumane.
I'm hoping that the public can get knowledge about this, understand what they're doing on our lands, because I think that the vast majority of people will find it extremely unacceptable.
Even as these protesters waved signs, the hunts were scheduled to be carried out in the Mauna Kea Forest Reserve.
They don't want people to know that there's little lambs up there that are running around getting blasted today. They're shooting little lambs, pregnant ewes. They're shooting other animals that are getting wounded and running off and dying. They don't want people to know what they're doing. It's dirty what they're doing.
The DLNR is trying to comply with a federal court order to protect the critical habitat for the endangered native palila bird. DLNR Chair Bill Ila has time and again defended the state's approach.
Because a federal judge told us that we had to.
He held his ground when asked during this recent public meeting in Hilo.
With regards to Mauna Kea, we do have federal court mandate that we finish the fence and that we shoot all the sheep in that area. And I can tell you right now that I am not going to go to jail. I am going to follow that court-mandated court order. We have been working to address some of the hunters' concerns in terms of we have driven off some of the sheep into other property owners' lands.
I've read through the federal mandate. The Endangered Species Act has what's called a recovery plan for the endangered birds of Hawaii. And in that mandate, the judges ruled, which we strongly disagree with, but they've ruled for the eradication of sheep in the mandate. But I would say to Mr. Ila that it does not mandate how that is to be carried out. And helicopters are cruel, and there's no justification for doing the kind of massacre and butchering that they're doing up there, and the waste. In May alone, they wasted 600 sheep. They left them to rot on the mountain, which is morally wrong. Nobody should stand for that.
Last year, the Hawaii County Council voted to support an ordinance banning the state's helicopter hunts.
No matter how you feel about protecting watersheds, about protecting critical habitat, the practice of shooting animals after hurting them and chasing them until they can no longer run, and then have high caliber rapid fire from a helicopter shooting these animals at close distance, wounded many, is just not right.
The last people that I would want to put in a helicopter with a rifle and or a pistol is DLNR employees. They can't hit the broadside of a barn.
The measure had wide support from the island's hunting community.
Yeah, and I think these bills are historical to stop aerial shooting, and it's history being made today, so I'm really happy to be part of it.
However, the DLNR challenged the ban, and a U.S. District Court in Honolulu ruled in favor of the state, effectively overturning the county law. Environmentalists believe the wild ungulates defoliate the mamane trees, which the palila depend upon to survive.
So this is a young mamane that's been stripped, bark stripped. Especially during dry periods, the animals are reduced to stripping bark. And in this case, you can see many of the branch tips that have in the past been nipped off. And there's really a normal tree, an unaffected tree would have a lot of foliage right here. There's barely any. And that which is here is, now trying to come back out during the drought when it's hard. So this is just some long-term damage that occurs. When there's more animals than there is forage, they'll strip a tree of most of the lower leaves and then begin on the bark.
Anybody that's spent a significant amount of time walking around on Mauna Kea can see that there's a lot of propaganda that's been tied into this to justify the eradication of the sheep. When in reality, you go up there and yes, there are trees that have been damaged by the sheep, but it is a vast minority. The majority of the trees are healthy and fine. And the ones that, there are some that are sick and dying, but it's not from sheep. There's a fungus that grows on the roots of the trees. They haven't done a lot of research into the causes of the trees getting sick and dying, but it's not sheep. And so, I mean, to say that the sheep are killing the palila bird, the rationale is wrong. It's faulty logic.
Hunters dispute the science, saying there are other factors in the palila bird decline.
It's a really volatile population. It's up and down. I don't know that they have a complete understanding of what drives the palila bird population, but it hasn't changed, and they've spent millions of dollars and killed tens of thousands of sheep, and they're destroying the public lands on Mauna Kea. So it leaves us as sportsmen and just the general public with a wasted piece of land that isn't really usable. They've got a 6-foot fence around the whole mountain with very few access points on it. There's dead sheep carcasses all over the place because they've left them to rot. And is that how we want the DLNR to take care of our public lands? Is that management? It's not. The state has been doing the eradications for 32 years. They've killed over 40,000 sheep, and it's not doing what they say it does. It's to save the palila bird, and after 40,000 dead sheep and millions of dollars wasted, the palila population hasn't changed noticeably at all in the last 32 years. So you'd think after 42,000 dead sheep, there would be some difference. There's nothing.
Wendy Cortez Botello, Governor Abercrombie's representative in East Hawaii, showed up to speak to the protesters. Authorities were also concerned about how the demonstrators were parked on Kawili Street. Some were sent scrambling when it looked like tickets were going to be issued.